Hi, I'm Elizabeth Otters-White. I'm excited that you've decided to check out this video on summer goal setting. I want to just share a couple of things before we dive in. First, I want to let you know that this was recorded live with participants as part of the Standout Professor Confab. And so you'll hear me mention a little bit at the end. This was our first live workshop. We recorded it about a week ago. And so we were doing some planning for subsequent workshops and for group coaching sessions. So you'll hear a little bit of that mentioned at the end. Because it was a live workshop with participants and because I wanted to maintain confidentiality of the people who participated, we've edited out other people speaking. And so there might be some kind of clunky edits along the way. Also, it was a live interactive workshop. And so there are pauses for people to work through things. And I left those in there because I want you to work through things, right? That's the point, is for this to really be interactive and support your goal setting for the summer. I do want to say, I know that summer can be a tricky time. It's a great time, right? We have so many, I think, goals and hopes. And we just want to make sure to balance that with some realism and some kindness and gentleness for ourselves. So anyway, I hope you find this helpful. If you're curious about the confab, we would love to have you. I hope that you can, consider that and check it out. If you are interested, we will make sure to include a link in the description. And I think that's all. If this is helpful, please let me know. Please share in the comments. Please share it with others. As always, thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. All right, excellent. So as we get started, I'd like to just maybe ground us or sort of do some level setting by asking each of you to share one word that captures where you are right now. Kind of one word that captures how you're feeling, what's on your mind, whatever this means for you, one word. And can do it in any order when you're ready. And then what I want to invite us all to do is to flash forward to the end of the summer. So I'm going to close my eyes for a moment as I do that and flash forward to the end of the summer and actually kind of put ourselves as best we can, put ourselves there, whatever that date is for you, right? Whether it's the middle of August, the beginning of September, whatever. Kind of focus in there and imagine that you're there. And kind of looking back on the summer that was, on how you spent your time. And I invite you to notice how you want to feel. Not so much the specifics of what you got done or what you didn't get done, but how you want to feel when you're looking back. And as best you can, really like embody that feeling. Make it as real as you can. And then if you want to open your eyes whenever you're ready and just jot down what those feelings were, jot down what you noticed. Take just another minute. We'll have more time for additional reflection in a moment. Is anybody willing to share just in a couple words what feelings they were hoping for? What, how you want to feel at the end of the summer? I think that balance is sort of the perpetual challenge. I remember, I might have shared this with some of you in the past, but like I have such clear memories of sort of the beginning of the summer, like and then I just have these grand plans, and I was gonna relax and I was gonna get so much done and I was gonna spend time with my kids and I was gonna go on vacation and I was gonna publish research and I was gonna, it's just like and then within like a week, it would all just come crumbling down around me when I realized, like, there's no way this is all happening. So, yeah, hopefully we're setting ourselves up today better than I set myself up in the past. That would be my hope for all of us. So, great. Well, let's spend a little time now. Now that you have a sense of how you want to feel, let's take a few minutes to think about what needs to happen in order for you to have those feelings, right? To feel that way at the end of the summer. And and maybe ideally, if you can, we're not going to have a ton of time for it, but create a short list of maybe top priorities, or maybe it's guiding principles, right? About how you're going to strike that balance or spend your time. But just take a few minutes, whatever works for you, to kind of come up with some sort of guidance for yourself about how you want to spend your time. Let's take maybe another minute or so, recognizing you may not get to a final set of priorities in this moment. Okay. Now I would like to challenge all of us to take a look at what we just wrote down and to imagine that we could only focus on one of the things on our list. Okay, imagine you had to pick one, and that's it. Okay, which one would you pick? Which one of the things on the list that you just wrote would most effectively support you experiencing the positive feelings that you envisioned at the end of the summer? I'll give you a moment to identify one, and then we're going to kind of explore that a little bit. All right. Hopefully, does everybody have one thing chosen? Some of you may not be happy about it, but you've got one chosen, right? Yeah. Okay, so tell me a little bit about how it would feel to focus solely on that one thing. Right. Well, and you're actually heading into the sort of the next step that I'd like to invite us to just explore a little bit, which is how can we start from that one, which in a sense, you chose it as the most important, right? It doesn't mean it's the only thing that's important, but you all did choose it as the most important. And so, how can we build from there and bring back other pieces that are critical, perhaps without having to go all the way to the initial list? And the reason I ask that, or sort of encourage us to explore, is that I would love it if we could attain those feelings, those positive feelings at the end of the summer, even if there are some hiccups, right? Like some little blips where we might not achieve everything that we've laid out, right? As the things that will help us feel that way. And so if we can start by focusing on the ones that are most important and really like bring some reflection to that, I think it can help to simplify, to sort of, narrow our focus, not in a negative way, but take the most important and bring the other pieces in. So I'm just going to be quiet for a moment and just let each of you kind of explore what that might look like, right? So now going kind of from a bottom up approach, right? If you've got one, and what do you really need to add back? Okay, we're ready to continue? Okay, excellent. So I want to shift gears a little bit now. We'll hopefully tie this all together at the end. For now, I would just want to shift gears for a moment. And I invite you to think about giving yourself a gift. And this could be anything, right? It could be something physical, it could be time, it could be self-compassion, it can be just something that you might not normally, a kindness, that you might not normally extend to yourself. And just take a moment to reflect on that. Like just a gift for yourself that is simply an acknowledgement of who you are in the world. It's not a reward that's tied to doing, it's just a gift. And just take a moment to think about maybe what that gift might be over the summer. Is anybody willing to share what gift they might consider giving themselves? All right, so now what I will invite us to do is kind of take what we've gained so far. I'm going to invite you to bring one more thing in if you want to, as we're doing this final synthesis, and that is, what do you need to not do? Okay, so if that is an important factor, I invite you to also think about, what do you need to not do over the summer? Bring all of these pieces of information together and synthesize in a way that is helpful and meaningful for you. So I'm thinking kind of like just a simple set of guideposts that you can refer to over the coming months, but something else might work for you, right? Or you might create a visual, or, something that is going to help you keep these goals top of mind. So I'm going to give you, let's say, 5 minutes to kind of play around with that. And then we'll come together and talk some more about next steps. I was a little rambly. Okay, so two things. If you want to ask yourself the question, what do you need to not do? That is sort of an optional final addition. And then we're going to synthesize kind of the various things insights that you've had over the course of the last 40 minutes. So it might be bullet points, it might be a single phrase, it might be a list of things, it might be a chart, could be an image, whatever's going to help guide you over the coming months. Okay. As some are maybe finishing up, it looks like some of you are complete with that. Is anybody willing to share what they came up with, or at least maybe hit the highlights? Yeah, that's fantastic. It reminds me of daily questions. I don't know if, and I may have talked to some of you about them if you've heard of them, but Marshall Goldsmith and perhaps others, but it's a technique that Marshall Goldsmith talks about and employs himself, where he has a list of, I don't remember, it's call it 8 questions that he actually has someone else ask him at the end of every day. They're all phrased as, did I do my best to sort of put that emphasis on what's within our control, which I like. Are others willing to share what they came up with? I'm going to invite us into one more sort of inquiry or set of questions before we close with final observations. The first question to consider is, what would help to make all of this feel easy? Everything that you've laid out, right? What would help it feel easy? Let's take a moment to reflect on that. And then connected to that, I would love to hear your thoughts on how the summer confab over the next 6, 7 weeks, whatever we've got together, can help to support you in achieving the goals, the approaches, the what you're doing, what you're not doing, right? All of those things over the coming weeks. And so I'm just going to open it up for any thoughts that you all have. That might include topics for future sessions. So next week we have a group coaching call next Wednesday. That's going to be kind of open topic. We can bring whatever topics we wish. That will also help us to formulate more specific topics for future discussions. We can start that process now though. And in addition, we have one more workshop that we can identify a topic for too. So any thoughts that you have to share about how the confab can help support your goals, I would be really appreciative. I'd love to hear those. Now or later, of course. You don't need to only offer that now, but if you do have thoughts immediately, I welcome them. I think that's a great topic. Yeah. And I was thinking even for a group coaching session, because I know you all bring together lots of different perspectives and expertise, and then I can also throw in my ideas. Yeah, I think that's a great topic. And as you all think of others, definitely share them with me. As I said, next week is going to be open, so that'll be another opportunity too. Maybe we'll even bring this up next week, right? So you all can just bring whatever topics you want. Next Wednesday, we'll see what we get to, but then we will map them out for the future sessions. So be thinking about those. Um, Excellent, excellent. Thank you. So we just have a couple minutes left. What I'd like to do, um, and it's a little risky, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to ask you now to give one word that describes how you're feeling now. And if it's worse than before, that is okay. It's just we're going to be honest about where we are, and I'm happy to hear it. So, who would like to go first? Any final thoughts, observations to share with the group? Anything that you want to say as we're just hitting our bottom of the hour here? Well, just thank you all for being here. Thank you for your engagement. I think it really enhances the experience for everyone. And I will look forward to seeing you soon. Don't hesitate to reach out at any point with questions. And thanks again for being here. Hope to see you soon.